What is up, guys? Welcome to Void of Dusk Gaming, your Arena of Valor channel. And today I have the next guide, and I decided to do something on Arthur because I have a really cool match here that you can watch while I explain several things. As usually, my guide consists of the abilities, your build, what you should buy and what you should get in terms of Arcana, and the third thing will be what is your role, what is your position. Those three things will be covered during that guide, and we are going to start with the abilities first. And I'm going to say this as Arthur is a jack of all trades. Arthur is kind of like, I would consider him to be a Swiss Army knife, and despite the fact that you get him quite early in the game, if you have this road to mastery thing going on where you get heroes every once and now in the beginning of the game as soon as you start playing it. Arthur feels a little bit like a beginner's champion because he has the ability to kind of diminish or minimize the stuff that you do wrong in the game because of the way he works, how his abilities work, how his passive works. But he's a really good character. He's like not really good in one special thing, but he can do multiple things at the same time. And he is one of the most versatile characters as he can play all of the roles besides Marksman. Of course, he doesn't have any ranged weapons, so Marksman is stupid. But you can be the tank, you can be the initiator, you can be solo laning, you can be supporting, you can be the jungler, and you can even be a mage because you can build Arthur on ability power items. Okay, so we have the first two abilities, and we are going to talk about the passive first because Arthur doesn't have any special sort of passive where you have to do X to get Y and stuff like that. Arthur's passive is plain and simple, more armor. You get more armor, the more levels you get. That is it, but that's what makes him really good because the more armor you have, the less damage you will get unless someone has true damage, because true damage ignores all of your armor. So that basically just means you get more armor, which will be so you don't get killed that easy. That's about it. That's the Paragon ability. The next ability is called Righteous Fervor. And thing is, Arthur gets a speed buff. That's a 30% increase. He jumps to an enemy. You can see a little circle around him. That's the indicator of the position that you can jump to. Be careful with your targeting. If there are marksmen and stuff around and tanks around, be careful with the stuff that you have put down in the general mechanics. You can basically tell the game which target will be prioritized. You got to be careful with that because it can be that you are actually trying to hit someone who has less HP, but because he's a tank, he has more HP in total, and you will just try to fight him because he has less percentage and stuff like that. So you gotta keep that in mind. Check out your little wheel here on the top of the screen, and you can basically adjust your targeting system to the thing that you will find beneficial. And what was that kill? Oh my god, that was leaping, activating the 2, and then the ult. So let's talk about the first ability. While you have to be careful with your targeting. As soon as you hit an enemy, you deal more damage and you slow them by 90% for 1 minute. And the thing that I didn't know before I have read these abilities, because I'm always on most of the time on solo lane with Arthur, is you will mark a target for 5 seconds and an enemy who is marked will suffer additional damage from Arthur's normal attacks and abilities equal to the maximum HP, and this will be magic damage. It also raises the movement speed of nearby ally heroes for 5 seconds, which makes it pretty awesome. Look at that, there's the circle. And we have another dead panda on the lane. And that was because of that cool combination. And for the guys who have watched the video, I wasn't able to only reel or peel Quillen away. I killed the stupid panda as well. That's how tanky and how beefy Arthur is, and I will get that Quillen. Look at that Quillen here. Quillen will be dead under the tower, I swear. So that was the first ability. Second ability is called Holy Guard. Arthur summons Divine Blades. These are the kind of ghosty things that I have, because I have used this kind of ghost skin, or like Dread King or whatever. And you will deal damage plus AD and AP damage. You will not only will this ability scale with your attack damage, but it will scale with your ability power as well, which makes it a great item for. Which makes it a great. That's the reason why AP Arthur works. So what you want to do, if you have a quick enemy who will run away, you will always want to activate your 2, and then you will want to activate your 1 and jump on them, and then do this AoE damage that you're doing with your 2. That is key to success with Arthur, and I think I might be the only person on this planet, but I'm a fan of maximizing the 2 first, because it is more sustainable. Think of the situation that you are fighting with Arthur against 2 other people. You have your first ability maxed, and you have your second ability maxed. Which one will do better in team fights? Which will be more beneficial for the team and for wave clearing? It will always be the 2, because that 2 has this circle around you, the small one, and in this circle every single enemy will get damage, and not only one enemy that you are trying to get with your 1. That's just, it's like pure mathematics. Like, of course, a single target will be in reach and it will get stuff and things. So my advice is the following: you take the first ability first, you take the second ability second, and from then on you are prioritizing your second ability, and you will max your first ability every time you can max it. That's the stuff that I would do. And now let's talk about the third and the most important ability, that is your ultimate. It's called Deep Impact, and it has a deep impact for sure. Arthur jumps up high and crashes towards his target, dealing not only tremendous amounts of damage, like 1250 pure damage just from the ability itself, plus all your attack damage scaled by 1.3, and you will knock up enemies surrounding you, which is great to kind of stun them, to knock them. That's always a great thing. And enemies caught in the blast radius suffer physical damage every second for 5 seconds as well. So it is good for chasing, but it's also good for initiating to chunk stuff away from the hero. So here comes my advice. I would always start with my 1 to get into the thick of things and to damage enemies and kill them. That was unlucky here. That was unlucky. Was lucky to get away, but my team did not rotate into whatever. Let's talk about we are talking about the guide, not about the gameplay. Gameplay is just a really nice game. I would rush in with my 1. I would then try to jump to someone even behind with my 2. So you can rush into something with your 1. And then you can try to jump behind using your 3. And while you do that, you should activate your 2 to maximize the damage you do to the enemy team. You can also use your 2 first. And while you are doing continuous damage, you will start to chunk away health of the enemy. And you can use your 3 as a finisher. And if the enemy flickers away, runs away, whatever, you can kind of jump behind them, like try to a catch jump. I don't know how to call it, because I don't simply know. I don't even know the German word that I would use for that. Like you can jump and follow them and try to kill them, because your cooldown will be reduced in the end. The more gear you get, the shorter your cooldowns will be. So you can use your 2 again eventually. So that's quite nice. Look, I don't even care. Like Gruk, who's Gruk? Like, do you see? He used his ult. No chance of getting Arthur. Look how much sustain I have. Okay, so these were the two the things that I wanted to talk about in the beginning. These are Arthur's abilities, and I think Arthur's abilities are great. That's like a verdict, because you're not dealing damage. You have crazy mobility as well. You have the armor, you have the damage, and you have the mobility, and that is crazily good, especially for a character who is that tanky and who can build that tanky. Yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is, how should you build Arthur? There are basically three different options that you have. The first one is you go full damage, which means you will buy stuff such as Omni Arms, you will buy Fenrirs, you will buy let's say, you could also do Blitzblade and stuff like that. You can do Rank Breaker. Rank Breaker is a good item. You can do the Spear of the Longinus. That is a full damage build. You can then, on the perfect opposite of that, build Arthur full tanky, which means Mantle of Ra, Mail of Pain, Medallion of Troy, Shield of the Lost, Sonic Boots, and you can then do, I don't know, third item, sixth item will be something like Blade of Eternity or something like that. Use Blade of Eternity 2 times. After that, the effect has worn off, and you will switch to another item, such as the Sickle or something like that. That is full tanky, which can be quite okay-ish. But we're coming to the third option, and that's the option that I do prefer. I'm not going full damage, I'm not going full tank, I'm going hybrid. And hybrid just means that you will have mostly tanky items, but you are doing something such as Fenrir's as well. Because Arthur is so tanky. As I have said in the beginning of the video, you do get additional armor as some kind of passive move. So this is your built-in armor stack that you get. And you will have the Arcana as well. So as you can see, I'm going with Hyoga's Edge. I'm going with Fenrir's. It's mostly tanky, but you are dealing so much damage that it feels like a hybrid build. Don't get me wrong on this, it feels more like a tanky build. It's not really a pure hybrid build, but I wouldn't advise to go full damage, because I just have the feeling that even this portion of health that you do get from the passive is not enough to really make Arthur playable. And as you can see, even having that much armor, an AD carry with the support of a tank always gets you. They will always get you. If Telenas has Muramasa, because of that stupid increase of attack damage, that attack speed that she will get, she doesn't even have Muramasa and she killed me. And that didn't feel like a hard thing that she was doing there. So, yeah, in my build, I would have changed one item to the Rank Breaker item just to make me a little bit more damage-wise. But I would go with Mantle of Ra, I would go with Medallion of Troy, I would go with Hyoga's Edge, and I will put the build that I use in the comments below. Because Arthur is built that tanky, I would advise you guys to play him full damage in terms of Arcana, because that's like another item. That's basically, I don't know what she did there. That was why was she doing that? Okay, I would advise you guys to use Onslaught, Skewer, and I would also do the Assassinate. Killed me. I didn't know why I stayed there. So yeah, it's Onslaught, it's Assassinate, and it's Skewer. Those are the runes that you should get, because that gives you the attack boost that you won't get from the so that you don't have to take that more attack damage items, but you're still quite okay-ish in terms of killing things. So that's the deal. I would advise you to do so. Okay, so now let's talk about the third part, and that's the part where I can actually include parts of the video if we are seeing them. So this is the positioning and your role in the team. So it highly depends on what role you are playing, Arthur. Who is that? That wasn't even a sentence. What role Arthur plays in the team, that is the main determination of what you are going to do and what your role is. If you have a tank, like we have in this example, Chogner is the tank, I'm the off tank, which is some kind of sidekick tank. I would always try to let them in and trying to get them, and then I would try to be the second wave tank. If I realize that Chogner is not being in their faces, tanking around, I would be the guy who is doing the start. I would try to go in and basically try to get to their tank and then move around the tank in order to get to the cheesy bits. The Talenusses, the Tulans, the Valheins, the Yorns. That's what I would do. And the good thing is, normally tanks don't do that much damage. So you will, as a normal tank, you will be in the enemy's tank. You will try to shield your AD carry from the damage dealers of the enemy. That's what you are supposed to do. And as you are Arthur, you can just stay there and activate all your abilities, and you will eventually kill the tank so that you can just stomp them, roll over the enemy team. So you should always, as you're not the support, so your role isn't to kind of protect the AD carry, but you should try to minimize the vectors that the enemies have when they need to get to your AD carries. And if you, I mean, it's a game where you can actually put down advice, but it doesn't make any it doesn't make any difference if you don't adapt yourself to the pace and to the strategy of the game. So if you realize that you and, for example, Chogner go in all the time, Valhein and Darcy stay back, and their Quillen always backstabs them, it might be a really good idea to babysit Tulan and to babysit Darcy and Valhein in this example, and kill their Quillen first. Quillen was the one, not the Tulan. I said Tulan wrong. So if you have an assassin that's going to try to backstab your damage dealers, the AD carries and the mages, you will just go and babysit, and you should do that. Otherwise, I would try to jump in. As you can see right now, I make an approach to get the tower. Quillen goes in and tries to get Zuka, which he does quite well. And yeah, that's like your role. You are the initiator. But if you have a first initiation, then you can do a second one, which is kind of brutal, because usually you have one person in the team doing so. If you have two of them in the team doing so, it's even better. So you are the one who can start team fights. I just beg you, guys, don't overestimate yourself. You are dealing massive amounts of damage at the beginning of the game. That falls a bit off as you don't do that much in terms of buying weapons and stuff. You're buying more armor, you're buying more magic resistant things like that. So you will do less damage, and in the end it's still enough to kill all the marksmen. But don't overestimate your or don't underestimate your ranges, the ranges that you have by jumping around. So yes, this was my Arthur guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a pleasant weekend, and I hope you have a good start into the weekend on this Friday. I'm Void of Dusk Gaming, and there will be a guide on next Friday eventually, so stay tuned.